Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them. They never rent quality flicks. They always pick the most intellectually devoid movie on the racks.
And now, on with the show.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to This Week in Geek.net's Loose Cannon, the show where we talk about the movies of yesteryear, occasionally some stuff that's in theaters, but we like to take a look at the movies of our youth and movies that we remember fondly. As we've been looking at during this month of October, we've looked at some very strange movies from Ken. Why am I not surprised? Me and Dave have taken a look at the new trilogy for Halloween, and most recently, we just took a look at the Dead Rising movies. Now, there was a technical... Yeah, no shit. Even the internet fought against us. We did have a minor technical glitch in that episode. As of right now, as of this recording, I don't know if it's been fixed, so hopefully I'm going to say it has. If it hasn't been, well... blame Discord, and that's just kind of the way it is. But as you can hear, I have some compatriots with me tonight as I bring us into the Twig video store. Once again, from the Paris of Ohio and co-host of Do You Even Movie, we bring in...
David Denoyer.
And it is not Twig without this gentleman, for which I would not know many, many animes. We have...
Ken from This Anime.
And we are taking a look at rankings. Now, I've actually never done a show like this before, where we're going to talk about the Halloween movies, the entirety of the franchise, which Dave has had a ranking for this prepared for quite some time.
Just a little bit.
And I'm interested because I've actually watched a lot of these movies again recently. And some of my opinions on some of these movies have changed. I've even went back and rewatched the Rob Zombie movies recently. And as preparation for the show, I've watched my first ever Joe Bob Briggs. I watched the Halloween Hootenanny, which was Halloween 4 and 5. Did they do Halloween 2?
No, it was just Halloween, Halloween 4, and Halloween 5.
It
was a big deal when he got Halloween, because everybody was waiting for him to host Halloween.
Yeah, so that was my first experience with that. And as of this recording, I'm going to say next year for the Halloween special, providing the world doesn't end, we're going to be doing something involving horror hosts, and you'll have to find out to stay tuned to the Twig Halloween special, which will be premiering on Halloween morning, I want to say. So take a listen to that with me, with Enrique, who is the host with Dave on Do You Even Movie, and of course our friends over at Cinemasker with James Rolfe. But guys, let's talk about the Halloween movies. And we most often go around the table talking about our experiences with the Halloween movies. And I'm going to start so you guys can formulate your thoughts. So the Halloween movies, and I can't remember when I ever saw the first one. But I want to say it was probably during high school, because I was never much of a Michael Myers fan. And that's because my slashers are Freddy and Jason. Those are my two heavy hitters. And the Halloween movies always... I liked them, but I never saw Michael Myers on the same threat level as Jason. He was never the Omega level threat, because to me, Michael Myers, he's just a man. You can kill him, but he does get supernatural abilities in some of the later movies, though not to the extent of the super zombie that we get with Jason in parts 6 and forward. So I remember watching, I want to say Halloween 1, the original one from 78 with my girlfriend during high school. And I think we watched Halloween 2 and 3 that night as well. And I had a really, really good time. And I remember for years being a Halloween 3 hater. But my opinion has actually come around a lot in the last 15 years. And that's probably, honestly, it's probably my second favorite of the entire franchise, if I'm going to be dead honest, because it's so radically different. There's even a lost episode that Twig did with another really big YouTuber back in the day that is considered lost media, where we had the Nostalgia Critic do a review of Halloween 3 for us. That I'm sure it exists out there somewhere, but we had Doug Walker do something for us back in 2008 or 2009, back when I was with Channel Awesome. And yeah, like I've liked the franchise on and off over the years. I'm actually more of a fan of the documentaries about Halloween. There's been a couple of different ones on YouTube, ones that got some pretty big money behind it, and that's where I learned a lot of my stuff for that. Then obviously the new Halloween franchise that me and Dave just talked about. And I will admit, Dave, since we've done that episode, I've come around on those movies a little bit more. I'm still making fun of the ending for Halloween Ends.
You can.
But you've changed my perspective on it, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe Dave's right. And I kind of am looking at it through a fresh set of eyes. So that's my experience with the Halloween franchise. So let's go to Ken, and then we're going to go to you.
So for me, Halloween, Michael Myers is my, out of the core 3 classic slashers, Michael Myers is my guy. He just always has been. He's just a dude that is intimidating, and the idea is he's just gonna walk at you, and there is nothing you can do. He's just gonna he'll get you eventually, and I like that foreboding. I like that sense of dread. When you see Michael Myers, you're just like, shit. And so I am of the opinion that Halloween Kills hurts my soul.
Rude.
It still hurts my soul. And that's only because of very specific things where I have been on record and I've said that this is not the Michael Myers I know. I'm not saying that it is that it's bad on its own, like separate from Halloween as a franchise, but I felt betrayed watching Kills. When it came to Ends, I'm like, okay, this is my friend Michael Myers, the serial killer. That's essentially what the movie was. And I'm like, for that aspect alone, I kind of enjoyed bits and pieces of it. And it ended on a note where I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with putting a lid on Laurie's story with Ends. However, the original is still one of my favorite horror movies.
Sacred.
It is sacred. I own it on 4K, and I will never let that disc go.
Totally get it. So,
yeah.
Halloween for me, this is one of my favorite franchises because it's been a part of my life because of my mom specifically. I know I've said it on the show before, Birdman, but my mom loves to tell the story of when I was like 5 years old and Halloween came on TV, because the way I found out about Halloween was we had a cassette tape that was a Halloween-centric cassette tape, and when I say Halloween, it was Halloween songs. So, like, it had Mr. Spaceman by the Byrds. It had I Put a Spell on You by Screamin' Jay Hawkins. the Batman theme, the Munsters theme. Like, it had a bunch of stuff on it. And then at the very end of the tape was the Halloween theme. And it was the only, like, really, like, scary, spooky sounding track on the whole thing. So it was one that I immediately latched to. And then my mom was like, oh, that's the Halloween theme. And, like, told me the story of it. And I'm a kid in the back of the car, you know, just as she's telling me this. And so when it was coming on TV at a time when I had known about it, but, like, again, like, was like 5 at this point, my mom's like, oh, Halloween's on TV. And I'm like, oh, I want to watch it. And she's like, I don't think you can. Like, it's a bit scary. And I'm like, I can handle it. So to give you perspective, USA puts up the warning, and it's just like, hey, the film has been edited for time and content. You know, viewer discretion is advised. And then that theme starts with the black screen, and you hear dun, 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 and I ran behind the couch and hid immediately. Like, the pumpkin came on screen and I was gone. So I didn't even make it past the intro the first time I ever was around the film Halloween. Fast forward some years, my buddy and I were hanging out at his house. His dad, one of his friends, was his dad was a huge Halloween fan. So Tyler rides over with the Halloween VHS and gives it to us. So we watch Halloween that day. And then, you know, as you are at that age, when you get something and you're just like, wait, there's more of these, I just started, like, trying to devour as many as I could. And luckily, I'm pretty sure I saw Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then I think it was 4, 5, 3, etc. from there. H2O was probably in there somewhere, but I can't remember where exactly. So these movies have always stuck with me. I've owned them on multiple media styles. I've had a VHS tape. I've had a DVD. I have Blu-rays. I have 4Ks now. So I've bought this franchise multiple times. And I say franchise because there are 13 films all included with Rob Zombie's. So, I mean, that's a lot of films. And I mean, it's absolutely one of those horror franchises that when you hear that name, Halloween, it's synonymous with both the holiday, obviously because of its name, but you want to watch a Halloween movie. It doesn't even have to be all of them, but usually people will totally get into a Halloween movie, even if they're not horror fans this time of year. And it's just a franchise that, yeah, there's a lot of bad. I'm not going to beat around the bush. There are some bad movies in this franchise, and we'll cover those in this ranking, obviously. But I can still watch all of these for the most part and enjoy them. It's funny how you were saying you came around on the David Gordon Green trilogy, because I used to be a big fan of 4 and 5. You're going to find out with this ranking, it is strictly 4 now. Fuck 5. 5 I have the biggest fucking issues with. So we'll get into it. Don't worry. But yeah, Halloween has always been around me. It's been, like I said, I bought it multiple times. I usually try and watch all of them, at least my big favorites, every fucking October, because it's just that's a happy place for me. So the idea of Michael Myers, the renditions that they take him through these films, the character timelines we get, the timelines in general that span from all these films. It's just an interesting franchise. Even if it's not all good, there are still a lot of good movies to watch in this franchise. So I'm very excited to get into this.
Yeah, so I guess without any further ado, Dave, you're going to be taking lead on this and lead me and Ken through your rankings of the Halloween franchise, and we'll just have a little bit of discussion on each ranking.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, ghosts and goblins, we are going to go ahead and get them out of the way. And when I say them, you probably know what I'm already talking about. Number 13 on the list, Rob Zombie's Halloween. 2007. This movie was an excitement for me because, unfortunately, it's the first Halloween film I got to see in theaters. And I still was not of the age to be in there without a guardian. So it will always hold that highness for me, and I love Rob Zombie. I love his music. Most of his movies are decent. This is not one of them. I do not appreciate this movie by any standard. I think it is horrendous. The first freaking 20 minutes, love you, Rob. You can't write dialogue to save your ass, even if you have William Forsythe saying it. That is some disgusting, gratuitous dialogue coming from the white trash Myers family. It's just, this movie is a serious what the fuck. I mean, 2007, 1 hour and 49 minutes. It is essentially a retelling of John Carpenter's Halloween, except Rob decided to go deep into Michael's upbringing and his mental stability with Loomis and the asylum and whatnot. it takes a lot of really interesting ideas that I also do not give a fuck about, because I really think what is scary about Michael Myers is the unexplained.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I actually really liked the first 20 minutes of this movie. That's why I
What?
liked it. But in your defense, you're not wrong. What makes Michael Myers the slasher that he is it's a line from, I think it's the classic Halloween. He's like, Michael Myers is just, sometimes people are just evil. Like there's no rhyme, there's no reason. Sometimes it just is. And with Rob Zombie going into the white trash isms, how he hurts small animals, how Michael is incredibly disturbed with his sisters and his family, and like,
You are so lucky none of our cameras are on right now. I am stewing over here.
yeah,
I'm
but
still digesting this. Oh no, I like the 20 minutes of dialogue at the
see,
beginning.
oh no, it's terrible dialogue. Like, he can't write it for shit. But the
Rob
thing
Zombie
is,
can't write dialogue for shit.
He
in
literally
general.
has young Michael Myers get told by his high school bully, I heard your sister got sent to the such and such for giving too many blowjobs. I heard they had to pump the cum out of her stomach, and then does a sound.
oh
like,
yeah,
what is going on? Like,
it's very South Parkish. Yeah,
if you look at 1978 Halloween, when Michael is first seen after the mask is pulled off and by his parents, and you see Michael, they're not rolling up in the Beverly Hillbillies vehicle. They're not, there's not chains hanging outside the front porch. They literally make, not Judith Myers, what's her name? God, why can't I think of his mom's name? Because Judith Myers is the sister. Yeah, I can't remember who she plays. But anyway, you have her, who is a single mom living with a disabled boyfriend who is just an absolute piece of shit, played by Forsythe. But she's also a stripper on her side. Nothing against her, nothing on that.
Yep.
But then the home life is just so atrocious. Like, I mean, I just didn't need that. Like, Michael's killing animals in the bathroom in the morning, and he's being harassed by her boyfriend and all this stuff. I could have a whole podcast on why I hate this movie, so I'm trying to keep it short because we got 12 more to go. But I just think there are some cool things to Rob Zombie's Halloween. I will say the last 20 minutes, especially when it actually shifts into a remake of John Carpenter's Halloween, I'm so much more tuned into it.
Yeah, like, I think there are certain things about this movie that are kind of interesting. Like, I like how brutal it is in some ways. Some of it may be a little too far, I would argue. It's interesting to see the portrayal of the teenagers in a more modern setting. Like, this is not Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode. This is, I think her name is Scout, I want to say her name is.
Scout Taylor Compton.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type of Laurie, not as relatable for sure, but maybe in some ways, maybe a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
How someone might be. But yeah, like, I don't hate this as much as I thought I was going to upon a rewatch. Even I have a feeling we'll have more discussions as we go on. So continue on, friendo.
All right, so Rob Zombie's Halloween, in conclusion, number 13. It is absolutely not unwatchable by any means. I will go ahead and say that about all these films. I do not find a single Halloween film unwatchable for the most part. It's just Rob Zombie's Halloween is a tough one to swallow. Moving on down to number 12, Halloween 5. Halloween 5 picks up right after 4, which at the end of 4, Jamie Lee stabs her mother, and she has the clown mask on, and the knife's bloody, so the evil is transferred. So what do we do at Halloween 5? In the opening, we reveal that Michael Myers did not get blown up, did not actually even really get injured much. He found a passage through a little cave out into the water, goes down a stream, ends up with a homeless man who apparently lets him be in his hut for a year. I would love to see that part of the movie where they're sitting down playing poker and talking one night. But regardless, Jamie is now in a hospital, and she's being observed by Loomis, who I do not even know how he still has a job at this point. I think he doesn't specifically, but regardless, Halloween 5 has a lot of story elements that I just do not think vibe much. It is directed by Dominic. I can never pronounce his last name.
Swedish guy.
Yeah, but you also have a guy that straight up admitted he didn't watch a Halloween film before he made the movie.
But he humanized him.
He humanized him. I'll give him that. Dominique Austin-Girard or Dominique Austin-Girard. The movie itself is basically Jamie being stalked by Michael, people around Jamie being killed, people trying to protect Jamie, and Loomis trying to finally have the final meetup with Michael and send him back to hell, essentially, even though that doesn't happen. But no, my biggest issue with Halloween 5 is Michael is seen in the daytime so goddamn much. He is seen with that giant, awful mask so goddamn much. The kills, unfortunately, met the vicious cutting of the MPAA, so a lot of them did get censored, and they did release the footage on the Halloween 5 4K. Really not much of a difference. But the overall feeling of Michael in this, the overall execution, the overall feeling of the film itself. I mean, this is literally a film where we have two characters that are cops that have wacky theme music whenever they appear until when they actually get killed by a fucking pitchfork that we don't see, by the way, off screen. You have all the makings. It's kind of like when we said with Dead Rising. You have all the makings of a good film here. You're in Haddonfield. You've got a really cool Halloween party setting, but you also have Michael putting on a different mask at one point, driving a car with somebody next to him because he's disguising himself as a boyfriend and actually like interacting and whatnot, which is creepy. I'll give it that. And I think Dominique did an okay job with overall what he set out to do. I will also say this is one of my favorite openings of a Halloween film because of how fucking eerie it is with the slicing of the pumpkin and the weird music. It's fun. I do like the opening, but with them being like previously on Halloween 4 and then showing us how Michael gets away and gets to this hut. Interesting opening, a lot of possibilities there and a lot of general attention to detail. I will say this is the only Halloween film that also feels like a giallo film because of the way it's shot and Dominique's approach to it. So I don't absolutely hate this film, but it is one of my absolute least favorites by far.
I watched this. Yeah, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the technicals of it. It's not good.
It's got great technicals.
When I saw this, this would be about the second time I've seen this movie. I watched it years ago. Actually, maybe I've seen this movie 3 times. I saw it originally probably in the mid-90s when I bought the Blu-ray set, which I very stupidly gave away to someone when I know how much that set goes for now. Yep, I'm stupid. And now revisiting it after watching the Halloween Hootenanny with Joe Bob Briggs, I don't hate this one, but it just seems very bleh. And then with what Dr. Loomis is doing to Jamie, and I will say this, I do like Danielle Harris's performance in this as playing someone who's super traumatized.
She has really good scenes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And one thing I do like about this, but I don't like how it went about, how they offed some of the characters from the last movie, how they kill Rachel. She was supposed to have a lot more brutal of a death scene, according to Joe
and a lot
Roberts.
more misogynistic. They were basically going to shove the scissors down her throat.
Yeah, like they wanted to go full on fucking hardcore.
And it was going to be in the shower. Like she was actually going to be like, because I can't remember. Do you see her actual nudity in this? I can't remember.
I think you see her back, maybe a side.
Yeah, I don't think you actually see. And if it is, it's probably a body double. But yeah, they wanted her to do a nude scene and also get killed during it. But yeah, no. I will say, going back to Loomis for a second, I do like his character development in this because he essentially becomes the monster. In all honesty, I mean he literally puts Jamie in harm's way to try and catch Michael, and he knows he's doing it.
Yeah, it's like insane to see how much the series has changed, because I know these movies like that, they started pumping them out pretty hardcore from like Halloween 4 to Halloween 5. I think there was less than a year. There was like months between these. So I know things were written so quick together.
Well, and Pleasance died during filming, but I mean that also leads into us going wrapping up with it is the ending. The ending is so what the fuck? Yeah, this is the introduction of the Thorn storyline and timeline, which if you are a fan of 6, then you know all about Thorn. If you've especially watched the producer's cut, which we'll get to. Regardless, this is literally Michael is caught by Loomis, who has a heart attack on top of Michael. The sheriff gets him in chains, puts him in a jail cell, and he's like, hey, officer, like, take Jamie home. While they're leaving, there's a big shootout in the station because the whole movie we've seen this guy arrive with spurs on his boots to Haddonfield, but we just see him in scenes. He never really does anything. Well, he walks into the police station with bombs and a gun, kills all the cops, frees Michael, and the ending of Halloween 5 is literally Jamie looking at his cell, which is blown apart now, and you just hear her go, and then that's it. And then that directly leads into Halloween 6, which I'll give it credit for, but I guess they had to tie that together with that ending. There is a lot of potential here with Halloween 5, but every year I watch it, I hate it more. And it didn't used to be that way.
All right, continue on.
All right, so moving from number 12 into spot 11, we are going with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I will go ahead and say I do enjoy. I think his Halloween 2 is better than his Halloween because of the bold fucking steps this man takes with this franchise, for one.
Yeah.
On top of that, you just have a Halloween film that is not like any other Halloween film. This comes out in 2009, which is 2 years after the first one. It is common knowledge now, he has said it himself, that Zombie did not want to do Halloween 2. He had a terrible time on Halloween 1. He did not want to do Halloween 2. So he basically made a movie that he did not think he was going to be able to make, and they let him do it. So that's why you have these weird dream sequences with Sherry Moon Zombie back as the mom looking straight out of Living Dead Girl video. You've got Michael, who is a homeless man for about an hour of the film, who is just doing a Forrest Gump and walking home, I guess. I mean, he is in the woods walking a lot of this movie, and then he becomes a menace slowly again. So you've got all that happening. You've got Lori, who is completely traumatized, along with Brackett, who she's living with now, both Annie and Sheriff Brackett. She's living with them. She's having trauma. She's a fucking mess. And then you've got Malcolm McDowell, who's Loomis, who has completely gone to the celebrity side of the guy that apprehended Michael Myers and whatnot. Like, he has become a full-on celebrity. He's written a book that has details in it that he promised he wouldn't share. Weird Al is in the movie at some point. This is a Halloween film that literally does everything a Halloween film shouldn't, and it works in my opinion. I will say the director's cut versus the theatrical is what I prefer. The director's cut has an ending because the ending of the film is Lori has been kidnapped by Michael because Michael is trying to bring her over to the family side because she is direct bloodline. And Ghost Mom in her Living Dead attire is there and whatnot. So Michael ends up getting killed after he kills Loomis. And then she puts on the mask, goes outside, gets shot by the cops. And then the whole theme of this movie is the pale white horse. It starts with a quote about the pale white horse. We see Sherry Moon Zombie with the pale white horse. There's a really weird nightmarish element to Halloween 2 that I really enjoy. And that's because it's so different. That being said, if you are a Halloween fan, I know a lot of people that full on hate this movie and like violently like discuss it in that sense. Like they think this was an absolute shit on Halloween. So I see both sides of it, but I have an appreciation for it, but it's not one I go back to often.
It's one upon a rewatch. Again, I was in that camp where I fucking hated this movie so much. But going back upon a rewatch, there's something about Rob, how he handles the psychology of these people, what the trauma does to people. And that's why I like the first one, because it really takes a look at something that you don't often think. Like, we think about the final boys and the final girls from all our horror movies. Well, what happens if when you actually survive that? Like, not everybody's going to be well adjusted. For example, this is going to be a bit of a tangent, but humor me for 30 seconds. You think about someone like Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. Obviously, all her friends are dead. And somehow she ends up as a psychologist specializing in dreams at Weston Hills. So her life turned out relatively normal, so much so she was able to focus and go to school over it, despite having maybe an addiction issue with pills, right? Yeah. But you look at Lori. No, it fucked her up where she's waking up screaming in the middle of the night. She's having massive trauma to deal with the fact she's found her friends died. She eventually finds out she's related to Michael, and it destroys her. Upon a rewatch, there's something about that I really, really like. Like that's an examination that I never really kind of thought of. And Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett, that's a really good performance nobody talks about.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I will say the first 20 minutes of this, you said the dream thing, is a nightmare, we find out, but it also comes right after Halloween's conclusion, the Rob Zombie Halloween conclusion picks up right after it. And then what we find out is there's a certain point it becomes a nightmare, which is basically a remake of Halloween 2. So I mean, he does pay homage to Halloween 2 from 1981 in the first 20 minutes of this, which I don't think a lot of people thought that's the movie they were getting when they sat down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is one of the, I respect the moxie.
Yeah.
That's how I like to say it. I respect the moxie. And that's about it.
I get it. No, I get it. I totally get it.
All right.
Moving on from Halloween to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, we are going now to spot number, let's see, my math is off here for a second, so let's see, 13, 12, 11. All right, so number 10, we are talking about Halloween 6. And Halloween 6 is a direct sequel to Halloween 5. However, in regards of Halloween 5, that was back in, let me see here. Sorry, my phone is going slow. So Halloween 5 is in 1989. Halloween 6 then comes out, I want to say 95.
95.
So comes out in 95. So we've got a bit of a gap there, and it's not anything secret that Halloween 6 had some serious production issues. So 1995, it's released, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, 1 hour and 27 minutes. This movie has a notorious producer's cut that is completely different from the film with the regards to the beginning, some middle pieces in the end. Halloween 6 is essentially Jamie has been killed by Michael, who had Michael's baby. Yes, you heard that correctly. Michael's baby is then found by Tommy Doyle from the original Halloween film, played by Paul Rudd in this film. Loomis has retired from Smith's Grove at this point, and he is wanted back by this one guy who is Michael, who's taking care of Michael. Long story short, it turns out the guy that's taking care of Michael was the guy at the end of Halloween 5 with the machine gun that is running the Cult of Thorn, which is this whole secret cult that Michael follows into, and him and Jamie had sex, and now Jamie has had this baby that is supposed to be the next origin of evil. And the baby gets stolen, and Michael wants it back, so he goes after the people that are living in the original Myers house. And there's bloodline connection there. Basically, this movie is, we have Michael in Haddonfield. We have this evil curse that he's tied to now. His offspring is out there, and they want it back for reasons. Halloween 6 has a lot of things that I like about it, but Halloween 6 is ultimately that feeling of a sequel film. It's got decent kills. The score is interesting. But with the fact that Loomis Pleasance died between 5 and 6, what they had shot with 6, or actually no, he died during the making of 6, yeah, because that's why it's such a mess, is because him dying took out a lot of core portions of the script that they had with him in it, so they had to adapt around that, which is why the theatrical cut of Halloween 6 is Paul Rudd beating the shit out of Michael until this green stuff comes out of him. Paul Rudd, the main woman, and Loomis are leaving the place where the cult was hiding at, and Paul's like, come with us. And he's like, Loomis is like, I have business here. And then they drive away. And then we cut back to where Michael was. That's empty. And then off screen, we hear Loomis go, Michael, no! End credits. Halloween 6 is basically the thing you get of a sequel in the 90s, which a lot of them unfortunately weren't good, but there's good pieces of them. Also, fun fact, the guy that plays the shock jock is also the guy that gets thrown through the glass in the first Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh, there we go. I don't have a lot to add to Halloween 6. Again, when they brought in the Cult of the Thorn thing and they really kind of fleshed it out, thought it was an interesting idea. Maybe a step too far, especially being this many into the franchise, but you look at Friday the 13th Part 6 and we got Super Jason, so why not, I guess. Plus, this is the movie that has made me convinced Paul Rudd is a vampire, and that's how it is.
I was going to say, Ken, you got anything to add?
No, this is just Blah.
Ken, can you say one nice thing about Halloween?
Paul Rudd's a vampire. Admit it.
I mean, it's Paul Rudd.
There we go. All right, fair enough. All right, so
it.
wrapping up Halloween 6 and spot number 10, we move to spot number 9, which I am going to give to the immortal, the stupid, the endlessly entertaining Halloween Resurrection. Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That is into spot number 9. Halloween Resurrection, if you're not familiar with it, this is the film that came after H2O, which ends with Jamie Lee chopping off Michael's head. That's what that's what we thought when we ended it. It's 2002. This gets released. It's 1 hour and 30 minutes. Stars Busta Rhymes, Tyra Banks, Brad LeRae, who's playing Michael Myers. Jamie Lee Curtis is back, all for 10 minutes. Basically, Halloween Resurrection, you find out that Jamie Lee did not kill Michael, that Michael had swapped costumes with an ambulance driver and crushed his larynx so that when she chopped that guy's head off, he was actually trying to communicate with her. It wasn't Michael. Michael's still out there. So now we are in Haddonfield again, and Michael goes after Laurie. Laurie, unfortunately, falls victim this time when she doesn't have to. There's a lot that is not great about this movie, but the main premise of the film is there is a webcam series that wants to do a live show on Halloween night in the Myers house, uncovering the secrets and whatnot. And wouldn't you know it, there's a guest star they didn't have on the list, Michael himself. So that premise is super fun, and obviously there's a lot of great shenanigans with that. Halloween Resurrection, I think, is a little higher for me on this list from the others, because Resurrection is the first movie I rented of the Halloween series that I actually rented myself, because we had Halloween on VHS growing up. My mom and I had bought it together, but when you actually go to the store and rent a Halloween film, you have that special core memory. Resurrection is mine. It was from the Troy Public Library, and I watched it and I loved it. And I still do, but on rewatches, there's just a lot of bad in this movie. I said the line "trick or treat, motherfucker" because Busta Rhymes actually says that at one point while kung fu fighting Michael Myers in a burning garage attached to his house. There's the great, terrible intro of him and Laurie, where Laurie has been institutionalized because after killing the ambulance driver, they don't know what to do with her, and she's kind of had a breakdown, hasn't spoken. Turns out she's been waiting for Michael to come get her. She completely gets him in a trap, and then she wants to take the mask off to make sure it's sure again, and wouldn't you know, Michael just reaches over, grabs her, stabs her in the back. She says, "I'll see you in hell, Michael," and falls, and that is even before the title screen of Halloween Resurrection. I just really have an admiration for this film because of it both being the first one that I rented, but also I think it's fun. It's got some decent kills in it. However, I absolutely fucking despise what they did to Laurie Strode in this film.
Yeah, that's my biggest part about it, because I don't see Laurie going out like that, and I just get a feeling, and again, this is pure speculation on my behalf. This is when I think Jamie Lee was like, "Look, man, I think I'm done." And I could just see this being more done as an obligation, and just you know what? If you're going to kill me, at least do something kind of fun. And this is it. But I do got a bit of a memory with this too. This is when I was living with my real mom, and we were just starting to form a relationship. I was living with my real mom, Kim. And I seem to recall us watching this on TV or something, but I remember sitting down to dinner and my mother just laughing her ass off when Busta Rhymes goes, "Trick or treat, motherfucker." It's his intonation, and my mom just losing her ever living mind at that moment. And it was just, it was so goofy. But I also, this is the one that has Katie Sackhoff in it, right?
Correct, yeah, and also you've got the guy that was in, he was on The Luck of the Irish, which was a famous Disney movie, channel movie when I was a kid. What the hell is his name? Oh, god damn it. Thomas Ian Nichols.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's, no. Ryan Mamirin. That's him. Sorry, Thomas Ian Nichols is the guy that gets stabbed in the back of the head when the mirror breaks.
But yeah, there are parts about this movie I don't mind. I think it's more watchable than I maybe give it initially kind of credit for. But
it's also directed by Rick Rosenthal, who directed 2 from '81. So I may have admiration with that, because we may find as we get down this list, I really like 2. But I think Halloween Resurrection especially is one that you can show to anyone who hasn't seen a Halloween movie, because all the pieces are there. There's nothing intricate, which I'm not saying most of these films have that. But Resurrection is definitely one that, with a 6-pack and some friends, you're gonna have a good time. I've done it. I've done it several times.
Exactly. This is the most riffable of the entire Halloween franchise. Like, you can
Couldn't
just
agree more.
have a great time and laugh your butt off.
Yeah. So moving on down the list as we say goodbye, or I guess we should say trick or treat, motherfucker, to Halloween Resurrection. We are going to Ken, prepare yourself. We're going to move into spot number 9. Or no, that was damn it. I'm sorry. Like I wrote this list. So hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should be spot 8. Oh God, why am I bad at math right now? No, like to peek behind the curtain, I wrote this list handwritten. And for some dumbass reason, I started with 15. So no joke. I'm reading this off the picture I had written on my desk. 15, 13, 12, 11, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I had a day that day.
Yeah.
But anyway, the next film is Halloween Kills. And Halloween Kills, this was a big deal because as Birdman and I talked about on the last episode, this was the post-COVID Halloween film in theaters for me. And also, it was the sequel to 2018, which I really, really enjoyed, obviously.
I dug 2018.
No, 2018 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills is essentially a continuation of that night because it literally starts up right as we're in the fire truck with Lori and her family, and the firemen are driving over there, and she's like, just let it burn. And it gets to this premise where Michael survives the fire trap, he gets out, and he's going after someone, but we don't realize that it's not Lori until halfway through the movie because, as you said, Ken, I'll give you absolute credit. This is not your Michael Myers. This is not your Michael Myers at all because we have to keep in mind that this is a completely separate timeline from anything we've seen before. So when you have somebody that's been captive in an institution for 40 years, I feel like once they get a taste for that bloodlust again, it's all just going to come running back to the surface because they are free. They know that they are like basically a menace to the society right now, and the society is going to try and stop them, but it also can't. Halloween Kills absolutely takes some liberties with that beloved 78 film and the characters because we have Tommy Doyle played by the great Anthony Michael Hall, who is a bit of a shithead and does not get introduced to us in that way, but unfortunately his ego kind of gets there and his bloodlust gets there. But what I specifically said about Halloween Kills on our episode last time was Halloween Kills shows you what trauma does to a town with a murderer. And it shows you the trauma both on the sides of the avenge and the avenging. And you can't have this debate without realizing that, like, even if you love slasher films, it's kind of sad to realize how many people are dying in them and also never seeing that effect it does. And Halloween Kills does that. Like, you see a mom finding her child in the morgue while she's looking for him at the hospital. You see Judy Greer coping with the loss of her husband and all this stuff. I just enjoy the actions that they take with the way that the town reacts to, oh, no, not a fucking again. We're not going through this again, because I love that we get to see what 2018 has done to this town.
Yeah, my main issue is that as soon as Michael kills the kid, I'm just like, okay, no, that I
which kid?
The shit, the little piece of shit.
Little piece of shit. Which little? Because there's the kid in 2018 in the car.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about the big.
Are you talking about the reveal where he has the silver shamrock mask covered in blood?
Yeah.
I love that scene. Oh, I love that scene. But yeah, go ahead.
Like, don't get me wrong. The kid is a terrible person. He's a little stinker, and it's just like you didn't get me all the way there where I was fine that he died. Like, that's my thing. It's just like you didn't get all the way there. There are some great scenes in this, especially the one in the car. That is
Now, when you say great scene and the one in the car, I would like to point out that there is a point where Michael throws a door at a woman holding a desert eagle, and the desert eagle spins around and blows her head off. No, it is. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but also it's just like, wow, they dispatched her like she was nothing. Like, it's just like
at that point. But like
damn.
at that point, I'm like, oh, this is just a cartoon.
Yeah,
we're just going cartoon at this point.
But it does feel like Michael's having a cartoon with the way he displays the bodies too.
For sure. And there is one kill in this movie, and it's at the way end where I'm like, no, Michael would actually kill him that way. Where he's the boyfriend, where he's going to die anyway, and Michael just snaps his neck.
Oh, are you talking about in the house when Cameron's through the railings?
In the house.
Well, I mean, and that's I will say when we said this on the show last time. I will say that I do like how everything centers around the Myers house, because one thing I haven't said about these films in particular, Halloween 5, Michael Myers did not live in a fucking two-door mansion that was started renovation and then never like got finished. Rob Zombie's Halloween, love the Myers house in that. Resurrection, I think the Myers house is perfectly acceptable in that. In Kills, being the same house from 78 and it now has a renovation with a couple living in it, I love that. But I also do understand your issue with the way that he dispatches people, because he is an absolute fucking just machine of murder in this movie.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, Kills kind of grew on me after a while. Like, again, I fucking hated it, but then going back and rewatching it, really enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would. And obviously we make fun of that evil dies tonight, but nah, you could see how much it really fucks up a town. And again, the brutality just gets cranked to 11, and watching the guy who jumps out of the window and watch him die, and that's pretty fucked up. And
we talked at length about that in our last episode. I mean, that is a disturbing scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and one of my favorite scenes about that movie is watching the first responders get utterly
at the beginning
thrown to a wood chipper, and you're like, holy shit. And again, Mike, like, if you wanted to end Halloween at the end of 2018, you could have done it, but that's a clever way to bring him back.
Absolutely.
And it works. Ultimately, I'd say it's definitely worth a watch. So 100%. All right, moving on.
All right, so I rewrote my list while we were talking, and at number 7 is Halloween H2O. Now, Halloween H2O, it stands for Halloween 20 years later, and that is because this film takes place after the original Nights of Halloween H2O, which, if I remember correctly, does include the events of Halloween 2. So you've got Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then H2O. So what H2O does is it gives us the idea that after 2, Laurie went into hiding, changed her name, moved to a different state across the country, in California, if I remember correctly, and had her son. They've been living there. Her the boy's father is not in their life. She is the headmistress of this academy now where her son attends. And the 20-year anniversary is coming up, and she is an alcoholic. She still has night terrors about Michael coming and finding them. So then what we get at the beginning of Halloween H2O is we check in with Marion Chambers, who was in Halloween and Halloween 2 as the assistant to Loomis. And she comes home, finds her house has been broken into, goes next door to her neighbor, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, baby Joseph Gordon-Levitt during Third Rock from the Sun recording period. And he goes in, investigates, finds nothing, goes back to her. She goes home. Michael comes in. She goes next door, finds them murdered, goes back to her house, gets murdered. And so Michael's back in town. He's trying to find out where Laurie is, because that was the one thing with Marion, is she was taking care of Loomis. She has all the case files. So at this point, now we have Michael on the trail of Laurie, who goes across apparently from Illinois to California, not stopping except for to swap vehicles. But what I love about Halloween H2O is we get Laurie back from Halloween 2. She's a badass. She has a gun. She's prepared for this shit. She's also trying to find love. Her son's like, you need to get over this, played by Josh Hartnett. And then Michael comes to the school, starts preying on her son and his friends. She has to get involved again. Adam Arkin gets killed in the crossfire. LL Cool J gets shot in the crossfire. There's a great finale of this film. I mean, Halloween H2O is one I've seen countless times because of both TV airings. I owned a VHS, and I've owned this movie since I've had that VHS on various formats. It's a lot of fun. It is a brisk 84 minutes, I believe, 86 minutes. So it's like take off credits. It's probably like right around 80, 82 minutes. So it's a brisk movie. You're in and out. It's a lot of fun. It's got some great thrills. It's got some great music. Overall, I think it's just one you, again, could show to anybody, and they would be able to completely join you if they've only even seen the first one, let alone heard about it.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about this one, other than I know the joke that I made about this when I did a show with James Rolfe many, many years ago is there's a hidden movie in this, and it's the unmade Michael Myers road trip movie where he's driving across America, because in theory he'd have to change vehicles all the time. And for some reason, I just can't picture Michael Myers driving through downtown Indiana obeying local traffic laws.
And for the record, it's also directed by Steve Miner, who gave us House, Warlock, Friday the 13th Part 2. So you got a good director in there too. But yeah, no, the road thing is really interesting because we see him steal a car. That car is abandoned at one place. He gets the shittiest vehicle possible from this mom and her daughter at this rest stop, where he steals her purse and steals the shittiest vehicle possible that still gets him to California. It's just interesting because, to be honest, there's not a lot of kills in the movie, for one. It's more so a lot of menacing, and some of it's completely fake. But you also, again, get to see what's happened to Laurie in that time, and she gets her redemption in a sense that's unfortunately taken away in Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah. From what I know of it, this was supposed to be Jamie Lee Curtis's swan song movie, and she was like, I'm done after this. And then they put a dump truck of money at her feet.
There's also rumor of contractual obligation that she never was disclosed
or some kind of contract obligation. Yeah, and she was like, "Okay, you got to kill me in the opening." Yeah,
and it's so sad that happened that way, because if we had stopped here and not gotten Resurrection, I don't know if this franchise would be as beloved as it is, which is hilarious to say. But Resurrection is one that is known by everyone, both because it's, people call it the bad one, but also Trick or Treat Motherfucker has that notoriety to it. Halloween H2O, you remember Jamie Lee chopping off Michael's fucking head at the end of it. And that guttural look and just heavy breathe as the sirens are coming in the axe. Like, Halloween H2O is a really fun one. It's a brief one, and it is 90s as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, wrapping up Halloween H2O in spot number 7, we move to spot number 6, and Birdman Ken, hold on to your britches. Halloween Ends. And the reason that I chose Halloween Ends, the reason that I chose Halloween Ends specifically is because, for one, I genuinely really love this movie. I love the approach it did to a story of the continuation of the David Gordon Green trilogy. I love the overall feeling it has with the approach of being a Halloween film in that series, but on top of that, also trying to bring in some of those new scares. Because, we're literally talking about a movie that only came out 2 years ago. And Ends was one movie that we did not know what we were getting. Even the trailers didn't give us much of anything. So the introduction of the Corey character and the introduction of the evil being a presence that is able to be transferred or created, whatever you want to call it, but also giving Laurie Strode one of the best, and I mean best, fucking conclusions to her story of absolute ruin to the ground. She's lost her daughter. She's lost friends. She has lost her mind because of Michael, and is on the brim of losing her granddaughter. So you have this hero story that is fantastically told from the perspective of Haddonfield is completely wrecked at this point, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm setting up shop here. I'm going to do all this. Then meanwhile, Michael's hiding in a sewer for a couple years, and then this kid ends up getting thrown into the mix of it. I don't know. I just love the approach of it. Halloween Ends is high for me on this list at spot number 6 because I personally think that this, for a conclusion to a series, even though it is essentially a trilogy that includes the original film, obviously, it was handled with a brava that was very bold, as we talked about in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. A very bold approach, a very bold ending, and a ballsy fucking move to have less Michael in your Michael Myers movie.
I think that's hurt the most.
That's the best. To me, I enjoy this way more than I did Ends, and
you mean Kills?
Yeah.
I
Kills,
gotcha.
I mean.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But it is so it like when you get to the My Friend Michael the serial killer bits, I'm just like, all right, I'm up for this. This is entertaining.
I think I'll go for a walk outside. Just him and Corey skipping.
Yeah, it's just like, and then the scene where he and Michael kind of tag team the woman in the house. That's a great sequence.
Well, and also the fact that Corey just assumes the position of being almost like a food bringer to Michael with Allison's ex-boyfriend, the cop.
Right.
Like getting him into that sewer tunnel and then both of them having that first kill together and seeing the power that Michael, he basically has a quickening. I mean, once he starts stabbing that guy, he literally has a quickening moment without the lightning. Yeah. So, but no, Halloween Ends for me is high on this list for numerous reasons. But yeah, I mean, for the biggest one, I think it's such a bold and genuinely solid conclusion to a series. I love the approach of Jamie Lee Curtis with Corey, where she starts as being the one to put him and Allison together. And then you have her being like, on second thought, stay the fuck away from my granddaughter. And that scene of her in the house where Corey has been sleeping in the house where Jeremy died. And she's just rocking against that wall with that chair and that reveal and her just that monologue. Fucking, this is top tier Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, this is some awesome shit.
Hands down, this is her movie.
Yeah.
And she is killing it. And
absolutely.
This Halloween Ends gave me exactly what the 2018 David Gordon Green movie promised.
Mm-hmm.
It gave a conclusion to what that promised.
No, absolutely.
And you know what? I'm totally up for that.
There are parts of this movie I like. As we discussed in our last episode, I think the idea of the evil being passed on to somebody else, the Corey character, I think that really should have been, because I know there's supposed to be a Halloween TV series in the works at some point just called Haddonfield. I'd much rather see that developed over time as opposed to being rushed. But this is a great swan song for the Laurie Strode character. Although you just casually admitted to throwing a guy into an industrial shredder in a major book publication, I think the FBI is going to want to come to your house.
She didn't say that. She didn't say it. She said Michael Myers had a funeral. There will be no grave. There will be no witnesses. I mean, I think that I would love to read that book. I don't think it's written great. I mean, some of the segments in there, I'm just kind of like, Laurie, is this like chicken soup for the serial killer soul? Like, it comes across that way a little bit.
Yeah, I would like to know where this book ends up on the New York Times bestseller list and who's reading the audiobook.
I believe you mean self-published by Amazon, Birdman.
But yeah, like there are some really good moments in it, and the opening where the kid dies.
Yeah,
I actually think that's kind of brilliant.
Jeremy's fall is a hell. I mean, because we talked about it on the episode, of course, but Jeremy's fall into that. What if you did like that? That is some fucking powerful shit. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it just fucking drops that mic hard. So yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you on this. I think, like I said, you've really changed my mind on this trilogy, and maybe I'll revisit it next year to see if those thoughts still hold true. But by all means, continue, my friend.
All right, so we are moving on from Halloween Ends in spot 6 to spot number 5. 1988's Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. And the Return of Michael Myers, we'll talk a little bit more about this movie in the next category, spoilers, is the one that came after Halloween 3, which completely ditched Michael Myers and did not do very well, unfortunately. There's been a large reappraisal on that film. I am one that really, really enjoys it. But when it came out, it was panned pretty hard because you can't have a Halloween movie and not have Michael Myers at this point, even if you did blow him up at the end of the last one. So Halloween 4 is the continuation of the Loomis timeline with Michael. It has been some time, 10 years after the original massacre, and now Michael is being transferred from Smith's Grove to another private facility. Oh, wouldn't you know it, he's actually been awake this entire time, kills the two people in an ambulance, and breaks out and goes after his niece, who is now living in Haddonfield, played by Daniel Harris, young Jamie. And we basically get a movie where it's almost like a rehash of the original Halloween, except we know the stakes this time. Haddonfield still remembers, but is trying to forget. So therefore, when Loomis comes to town and he is just like, he's back, there was a nightmare I had, and it's just like this. And the sheriff is just like, listen, like I talked to Brackett, like I know your style. I will give you this, but God damn it, I hope you are wrong. So you have, again, that doubt with like, oh yeah, Loomis, I'm sure he's going to come to quiet Haddonfield. We've forgotten, blah, 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 blah. And then you have Michael just unleash on this town. The fact that Haddonfield is still selling that mask for one by this point still shocks me, but also it's a terrible mask in this movie. I did forget to mention in H2O, you do have a CGI mask, props for that as well.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, I haven't ever. But now Halloween 4, the mask is terrible. It doesn't take away from the menace and stalker that Michael is in this movie. There are some great kills. There are some okay kills. But more than anything, there is a sense of danger once we hit night, and it does not stop. That also said, he's dangerous in the daytime as well, as he's been in previous films too. But Halloween 4 specifically, you have such a great cat and mouse with Michael and Jamie and Loomis. And then you also have the town that, once again, going back to Halloween Kills, the town that's just like, oh, hell no, not again. So when they call a police station and nobody answers, yeah, you're going to have a mob that assembles and goes after Michael as well. So you just have a really large making of a fun movie, not to mention a fucking stellar opening of a Halloween movie. Once again, Halloween 4's opening with just the silence and the fall decor and the sun setting gets me in the spirit every time. I have really come around on Halloween 4. I never disliked it by any means, but it has grown for a love to my point that it is a perfect Halloween movie. It has an 86-minute runtime once again. You are in and out with some great kills. You go all around Haddonfield, and then that ending, the chilling ending where the whole movie, Jamie has been the prey of Michael and specifically what he is after. And then he gets shot by a shotgun. She goes up to him, touches his hand, gets hit by a car, goes up to him, touches his hand, and you just kind of get an uneasy feeling. And then you follow her back to the house after Michael's been blown away, and she stabs her mom, comes out in the blood wearing the Michael clown costume, holding the knife and doing the heavy breathing. Like, goddamn, that ending is still so chilling and so perfect. Halloween 4 is one of those movies that you can show to anybody. It doesn't even have to be a Halloween fan. You can just be like, hey, you want to watch a good horror movie? And I'll put on Halloween 4 because I know that it's, again, one of those movies that you don't have to know everything. You know what the stakes are. You know what's going on. But also, it's fun. It is fun. It's brutal. And it's quick. Nothing else beats that runtime.
Yeah, honestly, Halloween 4, I've come around a lot. Again, having just rewatched it on the Halloween Hootenanny on Shudder with Joe Bob Briggs. I was like, you know what? There's a lot to like here. Plus, I love the random shotgun to the wall kill. There's a lot of really cool kind of kills in this, and a lot of interesting side characters, a lot of actors. I'm like, I know you from somewhere, but where? Like, Dave, you probably know who I'm talking about. Who plays the sheriff deputy named Charlie? I recognize him. What is he from?
God, I actually do not know, but I will point out you saying that the guy that plays Ben Meeker in the Sheriff Ben Meeker, Bo Starr, He is a great actor. He is remembered as the guy that beats Henry Hill as his father in Goodfellas. Beau Starr has been in everything from Fletch to Goodfellas to episodes of Psych. He's in Halloween 4 and 5. He's a great performer in this movie. Charlie, I'm looking at right now to see if there's anybody, but while I'm doing that, you remember the old man that Loomis hitches the ride with, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Do you know that he was supposed to be in the movie a little bit longer, and there's actually this in the novelization that's not in the movie?
I did not. Do tell.
So in the novelization, Loomis, gives him some information about Michael, because they get into talking and drinking and whatnot, and the Reverend decides that he wants to help. So he decides to go to the Haddonfield police station right as Michael is exiting after doing all that fucking carnage, or he's just done it. I can't remember which. Or he's just getting ready to do, I mean. Anyway, he runs straight into the old man, gouges his eyes out, and then when Loomis and Meeker arrive at the station, he comes out of the bushes and he's just like, I saw evil in its true form, it took my eye, and then he dies on the spot, apparently.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so the police station arrival was supposed to be on film originally. I don't know if it was ever shot. Unfortunately, we don't have a great actual documentary say Crystal Lake Memories or Never Sleep Again like we do with Nightmare and Friday 13th. But there's a lot of books out there that cover the behind the scenes and whatnot. And Halloween 4 does feel like some stuff is missing. But even with that, you still cannot beat this movie for the thrills, the fun, and overall just the absolute October feeling it delivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not much to say other than that.
Yeah, no, I get you. So wrapping up Halloween 4 at spot number 5, we move into spot number 4, and let's go with a lot of Michael to no Michael at all with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, as I mentioned on, just a few minutes ago, this movie was not loved when it came out. 1982, it comes out a year after Halloween 2. People expected Michael to be in their Halloween film. I mean, shame on them. I don't know where they would have gotten that idea from. Ridiculous. Regardless, Halloween 3 is the story of a evil warlock who has moved to a town that he has completely taken over, and he is a mask factory, and they have stolen Stonehenge, a stone of Stonehenge, and they are putting pieces of Stonehenge into this mask. If you're still with me at this point, I'm proud, because this plot is absolutely batshit, is my point. It is a movie about evil masks that will kill children. Anybody wearing these masks will be killed on Halloween night, because this is a ritual that he is doing and basically to cleaning the world. And Colonel Cochran, who is played by the great Dan O'Herlihy, he is so good in this movie alongside Tom Atkins, who plays our main character, Dr. Chalice, a drinking fucking doctor at this hospital that is the cock of the walk. He is the man in this, but he's also losing his children that he is divorced from Nancy Myers, who played Annie in Halloween 78, as his wife. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is basically a film about Chalice interacting with Ellie, who is the daughter of a guy who ends up in his hospital that is being killed by the henchmen of Dan O'Herlihy's character. They end up deciding that something weird is up with Silver Shamrock Mask, and they're going after this factory. There's a whole lot of shit going on. This movie is insane. This movie is really goofy at times. It's really freaky at times. It's got a great Halloween feeling to it once again. It's also directed and written by Tommy Lee Wallace, who gave us Fright Night Part 2, Stephen King's It. He had a lot of love for this film, and it's such a shame that unfortunately it didn't kind of get its due when it came out, in my opinion. But I'm really happy that the appraisal has come back on it. You have the Silver Shamrock theme. You've got the amazing John Carpenter score. You've got Tom Atkins being as fucking cool as ever. Dan O'Herlihy being creepy as ever. You've got some really cool masks that we fortunately got copies of that, we can wear now. I mean, this movie has a lot of notoriety to it because it's the Halloween movie without Michael Myers, but it's a genuinely good horror film that if it chopped Halloween 3 off and was just Season of the Witch, I feel like it would have been a big hit.
Yeah. Like its biggest problem was it had the Halloween name on it, but ultimately I've gone back to it multiple times. I enjoy it more and more each time that I watch it. And I hope no one ever remakes it. Like, it's perfect. It's one of those scary movies I come back to constantly. Everybody knows the Silver Shamrock theme, and it's kind of worked its way in.
8 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Yeah, we all know it.
And the weird thing is, it's worked itself into weird areas of pop culture you wouldn't expect. I've heard it referenced on cartoons and sitcoms and other movies. It's bigger than the movie itself. Like, it's literally become the earworm of, like, just pop culture. People know what it is. And it was unfairly maligned for years. It's fucking fantastic. I mean,
it's the same thing that happened with Texas Chainsaw 2. It was a franchise at that point that had its fans, but it didn't have the nostalgic fans like we do now. People hated Texas Chainsaw 2 when it came out. It's the same thing with Halloween 3. So, I mean, you had that kind of going on, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I swear that I believe this is the main crux of the plot of Halloween Town 2,
Calabar's Revenge. Yes.
Yep. That it is a reference to this movie.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's
if you don't know the whole crux of Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge, Calabar's come back from the first one, and his whole plot is to turn everyone into creatures from the masks that they wear.
Yep.
On Halloween.
Yep. Well, and it's also the same premise of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode where people that were wearing costumes that got turned. But I think what I love about Halloween 3 in regards to the handling of the mask is the scene when little Buddy Jr. bites it is terrifying. I mean, watching his parents realize his head has completely turned into mush. Now there's crickets and snakes and all this shit coming out. I mean, it is absolutely horrifying. And then people have laughed about the ending of stop it, stop it, stop it. I think it's still pretty chilling and effective because it's just like, I don't think they stopped. I think Cochran still kind of wins in the end, even though he's dead. All the stones are destroyed, but the masks are still out there because this fucking TV ad.
Yep.
Keep on going, Dave.
Yeah, no, I love Halloween 3. So that is in spot number 4. So moving on down to our top 3. In spot 3, we have Halloween 2018. David Gordon Green's first entry into the series, the 40-year sequel directly from Halloween 78 that ignored everything else. We now see that Michael did not have the events of Halloween 2 happen. He has been locked up in Smith's Grove for 40 years after the babysitter murders. Jamie Lee as Laurie has come back as well in the series, living in the town, has become a complete nut, a survivalist fetishist. She has a compound, she has guns, she has a trap. She is ready for Michael to get out, prays for it to happen every night. And because of that, she's also lost the connection with her family. Then you've got her granddaughter that is the same age as her now from the events of Halloween 78, probably. And wouldn't you know it, Michael gets loose on Halloween night during a bus transfer due to his new doctor, and he unleashes like he has never unleashed before. As you mentioned, Ken, I mean, he is bloodthirsty in this movie because the David Gordon Green Michael Myers does not fuck around. And Halloween 2018 gave us a lot of awesome material, scenes, and ideas that do carry through the rest of the trilogy. But 2018 is a film that I know people that hated the rest of the DVD trilogy absolutely fucking loved.
I am patiently waiting for the conclusion to what I like to call the Badass Grandma trilogy.
Fair.
Because this is part of it, and then also Terminator Resurrection is also part of it.
Fair. No, absolutely fair.
Yeah. I want a complete Badass Grandma trilogy of some of the best living action-y horror icons.
I know who would be on that list. Sigourney Weaver as older Ripley.
Yep. That's exactly what I want. I want a Ripley.
We're never going to get that movie, and I want that movie.
I want one more Ripley. One more Ripley story.
God, I want
That's
it. That's
all I want.
We're never going to get it, probably. God damn.
Yeah. Romulus was good though.
I haven't seen it yet. 2018 just has the makings of everything that we discussed on that last episode, Birdman. It's got the kills, it's got the score, it's got the spatial environment. It feels like a Halloween movie to a T, and then even that ending, if you didn't know Kills was coming, because at that point we didn't know if this was going to be a trilogy yet. So if that was the end, it was such a good fucking end. So the fact that like they completed it again with or continued it again with Kills and then completed it with Ends, 2018 as a standalone film, absolutely perfect in my opinion.
Oh yeah, like Halloween 2018 does absolutely everything right. It's got the feel, it's got the vibe. I think the most important thing to know about it is it's got the love behind the camera and in front of the camera. Like there's nothing really bad to say about it. Like ultimately it's astounding. You should go watch it before the month is out and pick up the Blu-ray should you get the chance.
Absolutely. So wrapping us up at spot 3, Halloween 2018, we then move into spot number 2. Brace yourselves, gentlemen. Halloween 1978. And yes, I know, oh my God, that is sacrilegious probably. I can't believe he just said that. I can't believe I'm still listening to this podcast. But hear me out for a second. I love Halloween 78. Halloween 1978 is a movie that was a trailblazer. It basically created the slasher genre, as one could argue. It was a pivotal film in anyone's life that was into horror or not into horror. You knew about Halloween. You knew when it was premiering on cable for the first time. This was a very big deal, a very big film, a very sacred film, a very well-loved film, and has aged fine. It's aged perfectly. That said, Halloween 1978 is a slow burn, in my opinion. It takes a bit to get to the stuff, but we all love it so much, so we just are fine with it. And there's nothing taken away from that. There's nothing wrong with a slow burn. If you know what you're getting into, you know what you're getting into. Halloween is just a movie that I've seen so many times, I really could not tell you an actual number. I know it by heart at this point. I know so many fucking facts about it from both documentaries and books and talking to people like actual guests at cons who have been in the film or associated with the film. There is nothing you can say about Halloween at this point that has not been said. And I think it is absolutely not unheard of that you put the film that created the franchise into a tier that's not number one. This was a bold step for me, but no, go ahead, gentlemen. Please take the mic.
So, yeah, the whole slow burn aspect, I actually did I worked with a younger than even myself on a podcast called Last School on the Left, and we covered this, and they weren't as hot on it because of the slow burn. And I was kind of taken aback. I'm like, oh really? And it caused a pretty decent discussion. I think that's one of our better episodes out of the whole lot that we did, which was like over a year of podcasts. But it still holds up to me. It is a absolute classic in every sense of the word.
No, absolutely.
There was someone I was chatting with on Facebook literally in the last 24 hours. They're like, well, I haven't seen The Godfather and I haven't seen Halloween from 1977. And they're like, I only really want to watch one. And I said this to them. I said, The Godfather is absolutely a movie you should definitely see once at some point in your life, just whenever you get around to it. You don't have to rush out and go see it now. But Halloween is a classic. It sets standards, it sets a bar, and it establishes something that at that point in horror we really hadn't seen before. And it's absolutely a masterpiece. It is a classic for a reason. And it's a movie that you can come back to every couple years and still really enjoy. And even if you watch it as part of your Halloween rewatch during the month, you're still going to get something out of it. The performances are all solid, wonderful music, wonderful setting, wonderful lighting. Hard to believe this is one of the director's first couple of movies with John Carpenter. I know he made like a movie or two before this. Yeah, like really, like what more can you really say about it? It's a fantastic movie and absolutely worth it.
Oh, and I'll give credit where credit is due. In regards of Letterboxd, Halloween is at an absolute 5, and Halloween 2 is at a 4.5, because Halloween 2 in spot number 1 from 1981. Halloween 2 is a complete continuation of the first movie, starts right at the end of Halloween. We actually get a recap previously on Halloween, and we see Loomis shoot Michael. He goes over the balcony. He sees he's not there. He goes downstairs. He feels that there is the spot in the grass and comes up with blood on his hand. And we have one of my favorite exchanges of the entire series. The neighbor comes out, and he's just like, hey, what's going on out here? And Loomis is like, call the police. Tell him he's loose. And he's like, is this a joke? We've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. And Loomis looks at a guy and goes, you don't know what death is. Which is such an interesting line, because you absolutely get what he's saying, but also out of context, it's a pretty fucking insulting thing to tell someone in no matter of regard. But no, Halloween 2 sees us follow Michael after the amazing credits where we see a pumpkin open up and there's a skull inside. But then we join Michael in an alley. We see Loomis and Brackett are on his trail, but Michael hides in this alley. He goes into this house, gets this knife, goes over to the next house, kills the neighbor, and we're off to the races, because what we find out in Halloween 2 is he is specifically now going after Laurie. He is going to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital where she is. They can't get a hold of her parents. She's on drugs. The guy that is the ambulance driver has a crush on her and is telling her the events, and then she also finds out that Michael Myers is the guy that has broken loose, and she's like, the Myers house. We also find out then, and this is where you really break people off of the series. Some people like this addition to it, and some people don't, and it's completely fine either way. But we get the addition that Michael Myers is Laurie's brother, and that they are brother and sister. And that is a big reveal from a governor getting a call to open a case file that's been sealed. It's big news that Marion Chambers delivers to Loomis, as Loomis is being told by the governor to come the fuck back here. You caused chaos. Because one thing I did leave out so far is, because of Loomis being so paranoid and so right that Michael is back and killing again, that he is going after him so hard to the point that he causes the death of a kid that we find out is Ben Tramer, who was mentioned in the first movie, who is wearing a similar mask to Michael, who gets pinned between an ambulance and a cop car and goes up in an explosion. My point being of saying this is there's so much crazy shit that happens in this movie, but also going back to the slow burn, this has a little bit of a slow burn too, but where we facilitate the two differences of why I put 1 in spot 2 and 2 in spot number 1, I think a lot more action takes place in Halloween 2, because it does. There's more kills. The kills are more graphic. There's a lot more stalking going on. And also, the one complaint that a lot of people have had with this movie is, for a hospital, it sure is empty. That shit can happen sometimes. It's a small town. Like, they have their own hospital and whatnot. But
it's a small town with a hospital. Like, it's not... you could have an empty hospital. Especially when it's like it's Halloween in the
it's Halloween
night.
It's gotten late. I mean, that's also one thing I joke about with everybody I watch Halloween with now. It's like, what time does trick or treat start in Haddonfield? Because I'm seeing kids at 2:00. I'm seeing them still out in Halloween 2. Like, is trick or treat all fucking day? You don't know the time almost, except when they give there's brief points that they give time and whatnot. But Halloween 2 has one thing that I've not ever said on any other podcast before that I've really picked up on the last couple of viewings. Think about Halloween 2 in Michael's perspective of a brain. Where has Michael been most of his life now? In a hospital. Not necessarily like a hospital like this, but he's been in an institution. Maybe some of the tools that he's picking up on have been used on him, which is why he loves syringes so much all of a sudden. Now, on top of that, he's really good in this movie of the hiding places, and they put him in lighting in this that is really creepy at times. There's the point where oh, not Bud, but damn it, the one that slips in the blood. I can't think of his name. But Jimmy and Bud. There's a point where Jimmy is talking to the one nurse, and you see Michael illuminated by shadow in the back room behind that curtain. Love that. There's the walkout of Jamie Lee limping from the car when Loomis and Chambers have gone into the building with the one deputy, and he pops out in that red light. Love that. The whole chase sequence of when Michael pops up after killing that nurse, where Laurie is coming out of the room and she's just like, Laurie, and then gets picked up by him, by the great Dick Warlock with that scalpel, and is lifted and her shoes fall off. That whole chase scene and that score through the bottom of that. There's so much action in this movie, in my opinion, compared to the first one, that even, again, I know I've said this several times now, but this is a movie that you could show somebody who hasn't seen Halloween 1, and they'll still get basically the feel of it. But also, I feel like this is the one that has more attention to the screen. You've got the kills that happen, I believe, like every 7 or 9 minutes, I think, is basically where we're at with an average kill in this. You've got the intense chase sequences. You've got the guard going downstairs and checking the locks that gets the hammer in the head and whatnot. And also, you've got a continuation of Loomis and Michael's relationship, where Loomis is like, no, I can't leave this town until I know he's dead tonight. This is the ultimate thing that I have to do. So what's he do at the end? He decides that he's going out with the monster because he wants to make sure, and if he lights it and watches him burn while he burns, he knows it's going to happen. So, I mean, there's just a lot of fucking greatness to Halloween 2, in my opinion. And I know some people do not share the same opinion because of the whole brother-sister thing. And I totally get that. But if you take that out and watch the film as a slasher film of the early 80s, right as slashers are taking off, you have the predecessor, Halloween, that starts the genre in a sense, and then Friday the 13th takes it to a whole other level as well. And then Halloween 2 comes out the very next year after Friday the 13th. And ups its blood. I mean, it's not a gore fest by any means, but it is a distinctly bloodier film. And because of that, it's a bit more of a violent, ravage film. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it feels like it's taking the elements that made Friday the 13th popular and kind of infusing that into Halloween.
Yeah.
And mixing the two. It's basically mixing the two together. And that's what we got with 2, and it kind of codifies what the slasher genre is.
And I love the new theme. I love the new theme with Carpenter or Howarth or Horwath. I can't remember which. But yeah, it's just there's so many pieces here that go into the slasher genre as a whole, and then on top of that, you have a decent, intense, bloody, October-y Halloween film that I've seen again on TV countless times. I've owned in various copies. I think I own literally 6 copies of it right now. Not even joking. So yeah, I mean, it is one of those movies that I cannot overstate enough, that if you haven't given it a rewatch in a bit, pop it on, because you've probably seen 78 a lot by this point and probably haven't seen a lot of the sequels. If you're going to go back to the sequels, 2 and 4, I cannot recommend enough.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I mean, honestly, you've made a very compelling case for it. I mean, what more can we possibly say about it? So, guys, that has been our rankings of the Halloween franchise as a whole. And I got to say, I agree with about 95% of what Davis said. Would I change a few things?
Damn.
Not too much, actually, all things considered. Although I went from a Rob Zombie hater to a Rob Zombie apologist. That's certainly a phrase I never thought.
I like the Munsters. I like 31. I like Lords of Salem. 3 from Hell is fine. Devil's Rejects is his masterpiece. I like Zombie. I think it's really clear that he wanted to make a Texas Chainsaw movie, but he was given the Halloween franchise. It just, the savagery in those films, those 2 films, on top of the dialogue of those films, the characters of those films, they're not fun movies. They've got some cool things to them, and I could absolutely watch them again, but like, they are not ones I ever go back to right away.
100%. So guys, that's going to do it for most of Twig's Halloween content. There might be a few things that'll sneak into November. I know I'm doing some stuff with JT, but I know me and Alex and Aaron and Ken. I know me and Dave are going to record a couple more of these before we take our break in December. We still have the Video Game Awards coming up later on. We've got Call of Duty Black Ops coming up. During this record, I've been getting emails constantly about our holiday gift guide. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about before Twig takes a break for the end of 2024. But once again, guys, depending on when you're listening to this, please have a safe and happy Halloween out there. Make sure you go watch some movies, go to your local multiplexes, see what is currently playing. And yeah, so for This Week in Geek from the great state of Ohio, we have been
David Denoyer. And if I could just say one more thing, yes, have a safe and happy Halloween. Also, if you are wanting to get into a good series that will just, make you happy for the series as well as the time of year, pick any of the Halloween sequels. That's my advice.
Fantastic. And then from the Garden State of New Jersey,
Ken from This Anime.
And I've been Mike the Birdman saying everybody's entitled to one good scare. We'll catch you guys again next time right here on thisweekingeek.net.
Was the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Are either one of these any good? Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Quick! Change the channel!
You're wasting your life making shit! Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.